Good morning. So I am Kaylee. This right here is my 2-year-old husky Athena, and today I'm going to be telling you about the process involved in bringing a cat or dog abroad. So I moved with Athena last summer from Canada to the Czech Republic. However, the process is pretty much the same moving from Canada or the United States to anywhere within the EU or the Schengen zone. And a lot of the process is actually the same paperwork-wise for anywhere you're going in the world. You just might need some different vaccinations or, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to kind of go over all of the steps that it took in order to get this little baby girl into Europe with me. So the first thing I did when I decided to bring Athena with me to the Czech Republic was I found a website called pettravel.com. I will link that down below because it is super, super helpful. Basically, the main things that I needed were an ISO Microchip, which is basically just common practice in Canada anyways. So of course, Athena already had one of those. Because Canada and the USA are both considered rabies-controlled countries, you actually don't need a serology test in order to travel to any of the EU countries, which is great. So the CFIA, which is the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, is the department that's in charge of transporting pets within Canada, and for the United States it is the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture. So I definitely would recommend contacting your local department at the beginning of this process to make sure that you have all of the correct paperwork in order and that you have everything that you need for your specific situation, just in case there is anything different based off of your breed, the country that you're going to, or anything like that. So it's actually a 2-step process in order to get all of your forms filled out. So the first thing you need to do is bring your pet with you to your ordinary vet, and they will fill out all the paperwork. They will inspect your dog or cat and make sure everything is okay with them and make sure that everything is in order. They fill out all of the paperwork, and then you bring it to your local CFIA or USDA department, and they will go through, make sure everything on the form is filled out properly and you won't have any issues with customs, and then they stamp and sign every single page in order to make sure that everything is official. I needed to get Athena's health certificate, which basically just shows that she doesn't have any contagious or infectious illnesses or diseases, and it is also necessary for a lot of airlines in order to make sure that there's no medical conditions that they should be worried about in order to bring her on the airplane. I also had to get this really long form filled out. It's 7 pages long and just a whole bunch of crazy unnecessary information. The certificate that you're getting is actually specific to the country that you're originating from. The CFIA isn't able to sign any of the Czech forms. They need you to fill out the Canadian form and they will sign that. So on the website, it will show you whatever country it is you're moving to, it will show you their specific form that they want filled out. But that's not actually the form that you're getting. It just shows you basically step by step all of the information that you do need, but it's not the actual form that you're going to be getting filled out. You're going to have your Canadian or your United States form filled out. One thing to point out, if your dog isn't already ISO chipped, make sure that you get the chips before you get any of their necessary vaccines. Definitely make sure that the country you're flying into does accept 3-year rabies vaccinations if that is what you have. If you do have any layovers at all, make sure that the countries that you have layovers, make sure you check the rules in those countries. Depending on your country and the length of your layover, a lot of the time the pet doesn't need to go through customs and therefore you won't need to have any specific paperwork for the layover. And even if you are doing a layover, a lot of the time they're still going to accept the exact same paperwork. Another thing that I wanted to point out is if you are planning on shipping your dog over after you're already in the country, you have completely different rules, and a lot of the time it's significantly more expensive. I had originally intended to come over here, find an apartment, and then have Athena shipped to me afterwards. The rules are extremely different because then it goes from a pet or a non-commercial animal if you're on the plane with them, but if you're not on the plane with them, they do need to be shipped as cargo, and they are then considered a commercial animal rather than a pet. So it's more expensive. I think the cheapest I found to ship Athena separately was $4,000 as opposed to the $250 that I paid to bring her with me. And the paperwork involved was a lot more because then it's considered a commercial animal and they don't give them the allowances that they do give you when it is your pet. You also need to get a crate for your dog. So there's two different things that you can do. So some airlines will allow cats and small dogs in the cabin. This is significantly cheaper and there's a lot less rules in regards to the crate itself. So that I have no experience in. I've never really looked into because I have a husky and obviously she is not a small dog. So I'm going to kind of go over the rules when it comes to bringing a dog in the bottom part of the airplane, which is what I did with Athena. So you do need to check with your specific airline if they do have any rules other than the IATA approved crate. So IATA being the International Air Transport Association, they do have specific rules on what you need to have for your dog's crate. IATA does have a lot of rules. You definitely need to look into them, but I'm just going to go over the main rules. The number one thing is that your dog needs to be able to sit, stand, lay down, and turn around comfortably in its crate. So the crate has to be made out of fiberglass, metal, or rigid plastic, and it needs to have steel hardware, so like the nuts and bolts and the locks and everything all do need to be made out of steel. So it also has to have a solid leak-proof floor. It has to have water bowls and a food bowl, as well as handles and ventilation on at least 2 of the sides. You do also need to have a live animal sticker on the crate. However, the airline should give you that, as well as a sticker with their name and a place to put all of your personal information. But again, your airline should be giving you that. One other rule about the crates is that you are not allowed to have wheels on it. I would like to point out that my crate did have clip-on, clip-off wheels, like you just clicked a button and they would pop on and off. And I found that really, really, really handy in the airport so that I could just roll her crate through the airport because it is such a big crate. So I would definitely suggest that. If you are looking at different crates and that is an option, I definitely do recommend it. I found it really handy. So definitely make sure that you check the weight allowances of your airline. So in our case, Athena inside of her crate was just on the borderline of the limit, which was 70 pounds. There wasn't any more expense for going over that 70 pounds. It was just that they needed to have special equipment to put her on and off the airplane. So I did warn them. So I'd also recommend, just for your dog's comfort, to make sure that they have a comfortable bed, lots of toys to entertain themselves, and probably something like a shirt or something like that of yours so that they can smell you and they'll feel more comfortable. So once we did get to Europe, I did get Athena her EU pet passport. This comes in super, super handy and it will make traveling in the future significantly easier. So it took me about 20 minutes or so to get her vaccine and to get her passport all sorted out, and it was about $20 at a vet here, so it was super cheap, super easy, and it definitely will come in handy. It's actually good for 3 years or until her next rabies vaccine is due. So it's really cool how this works. It has all of my personal information in it. It has a description of Athena, her birthday, all of that sort of stuff, and of course her microchip number. And then basically what you do with it is you track her vaccinations in here. So basically what it is all of that paperwork that I had, so that 7-page document that I had in order to bring her into the country. This is just a much more efficient way of doing it, and I don't need to redo that every single time I want to travel. So this is actually accepted in all countries that are Schengen, all countries that are EU or trying to apply to be EU, because they of course do need to abide by the same rules. So for the most part, all of Europe accepts this. I know the UK does. Canada even accepts this. So if I were to decide to take ATHENA with me back to Canada, I could actually take ATHENA and I don't need any documentation to go either there or to come back other than her passport. I thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below. And if you do have any questions about this, feel free to ask. I've been through it and I know that it is stressful when you're going through it. So definitely let me know if you have any questions and I will do my best to answer them, or at least give you some of the information that I've researched along the way, or some of the resources that I've found. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely subscribe, because there will be another one coming next Thursday.